Demonstrations sprang up almost instantly in Washington and elsewhere as people either celebrated or protested word the court could strike down Roe v. Wade. Almost 50 years ago, that case gave women in the U.S. the liberty to choose an abortion.
Abortion is not the only option, in fact, it's probably the worst option.
It's going to become a war on women's rights again.
The leaked court decision is said to be only a draft. The official ruling is expected by the end of June. Now, polling suggests a majority of people in the United States support access to abortion. For the minority, if this is the final decision, it will set right a deeply moral issue. But many say it won't stop abortions, it will only make them less safe. Some have very personal experience with that. Earlier, I spoke with Carol Hoffman, who had an abortion in 1962 in the time before Roe v. Wade. Carol, I'm curious, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you heard of this leaked draft opinion that, that could signal an end to safe and legal abortions in much of the U.S.?
It was just, I think, fear. Fear that another girl, another woman would have to go through an illegal abortion and just feeling so bad for the pain and how scared they were going to be.
We hear stories of back alley abortions, and in so many ways they sound like stories from such a long time ago. But this happened to you, as a young woman, well before it was legal. What did you have to do to try to get an abortion?
My mother gave me money and told me to go to Coney Island and ride the cyclone 4 times. She gave me milk and magnesia tablets. My grandmother gave me a coat hanger, literally, and told me to go in the bathroom, and I was just too scared. At that point, my mother heard of a doctor in Philadelphia, an obstetrician. She borrowed $200. We went on the train. We went to his office. He said he was being watched by the police and couldn't help. He then gave us the name. He wrote a name of a woman on a piece of paper, told us to call her. We did. She told me to meet her on the street corner where the hotel was that night, and to bring pajamas and some clean underwear. And I did. She got out of the car. There was a man driving. She asked if I was Carol. She put me in the back seat. And as we pulled away, she blindfolded me. At some point, the car stopped. We climbed 2 flights of stairs in what felt like the tenement that I grew up in. And at that point, she took the blindfold off, washed me, and put a rubber sheet down, told me to lie on the bed. She told me I should drink a glass of whiskey because there would be no anesthesia. I did. She said she was inserting something in me that would make the pregnancy go away, and that she would do a scraping in the morning. She then left. I think I passed out. And when she was finished, she held out the bowl and showed me what was in it, and then told me to call my mother. I called my mother at the hotel, and I said, "I'm bleeding." And she said, "Thank God."
Oh my God.
And it was over.
This is a nightmare. And as I listened to you talk about these details, and they're so vivid, it was a long time ago. I mean, aside from the details of what happened, what stays with you emotionally about what you went through?
Well, I'm 78 now, so it was a very long time ago. I guess what stays with me most is I have 2 daughters. I have 3 granddaughters, little kids. I would never want them or anybody else, anyone, to go through that. I was so frightened. And in those years, and even today, people still think, well, what did you do that this happened to you? I felt responsible, shamed, that this all happened to me. And I'm just scared. I did literally, though, have nightmares for 9 years.
I bet.
I'm really scared it's going to go back to the way it was, especially for girls or women that cannot afford to go elsewhere, can't travel to another state or another country, and just don't know how to do it. I mean, don't know how to ask for help, don't know where to go. There will be no abortion care. Just frightening.
Carol, that's a lot of trauma for a long time. I thank you for sharing that. There are whole generations of women who cannot fathom, this landscape of illegal or unsafe abortions. So thank you for helping us understand the horror of what that looks like. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, earlier today, on the steps of the Supreme Court, we heard from Dr. Jamila Parrott, an OBGYN, an abortion provider, also the president of Physicians for Reproductive Health. This is part of what she said after reading the draft decision.
What has become abundantly clear in reading that draft is that the Supreme Court justices are hell-bent on eliminating access to abortion care for every person that needs it in this country.
So we asked Dr. Parrott to join us here on the program, and here she is from Washington, D.C. Hello, Dr. Parrott.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure to have you. Can I ask you, today's news, if it became the law of the land, it wouldn't affect everyone in quite the same way, would it? Can you explain that based on what you see in your practice?
Absolutely. That's a really important point that we want to drive home. People with resources, individuals with means have always been able to access abortion care. That's true before it was legalized with the Roe decision in 1973, and it remains true today, and it will continue to be true regardless of what happens when the final ruling comes down in June. What we know is that for folks who have challenges accessing healthcare more broadly and reproductive healthcare specifically, so communities of color, young people, undocumented folks, LGBTQ communities are more likely to be impacted on restrictions to access to any healthcare services, and abortion care is no different.
Right, because tell me, what concerns you most when you think specifically about the kinds of patients that you see every day, someone who would be unable to access an abortion?
The thing that concerns me most about restricting access to any care, and in this case abortion care, is that we are dealing with a two-tiered system of healthcare, where if you have money, if you have resources, if you have connections, you get one type of medical care, you get access to specific kinds of medical services, and if you don't, you're really left to fend for yourself.
What kinds of alternatives would there be for someone unable to access abortion services?
Abortion has happened and will continue to happen whether it's legal or not. So the risk is not a medical one. The true risk to seeking access to abortion care outside the formal medical system instead is a legal one. We've seen folks that we care for arrested, prosecuted, jailed, criminalized because they have sought to care for themselves in the way that they have felt is best.
Right, because ultimately, I wonder from the perspective of a doctor, whether you think that doctors like yourself can provide full, comprehensive, proper care to all patients if abortion is off the table.
If abortion is off the table, then that is not comprehensive care. Comprehensive reproductive health care has always and must always include abortion care.
Dr. Jamila Parrott, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.